Hello friends, welcome back for part 26 of our walkthrough of Spaced Out in Oxygen Not Included. As you can see, we have steam flowing, so we will be getting our rockets built and we will launch it in this video. So we got a couple of things we need to do first. But yeah, let's get started. So first of all, just going to make sure that we stop pumping anything out. The first time that this happens, you might pump out a little bit of steam and cause a little bit of a mess, so a little bit of water got down here. Not the biggest of deals, though, if you catch it pretty early, so yeah, that definitely happened. Let me get this disconnected so that we're not sending it into our base anymore, and then this will eventually go into our rockets, but we need to do a couple of other things first. The very first thing we should probably do is take this ceiling off, so all I'm going to do is just kind of build obsidian going up here, and it doesn't need to necessarily go all the way up, but you can go up as far as you kind of feel like. And then from this point, your duplicants shouldn't be able to cross back over to the other side so that these suit bays don't get mixed up. I guess you could if you had them all on the right clearance for vacancy and stuff like that, but it can cause some really weird routes. I kind of prefer just to keep them separated. I'm also going to turn off this pump and start to get rid of it, and we can also get started on building out our rocket platform. So just gonna kind of open this up a little bit. Any extra gases that are in here I don't really care about that much, so I'm just gonna let them go through. Alright, so let's get our rocket platform up. So, we're just gonna build one for right now. We'll build a second one later when we actually need it. So this one, you can make out of pretty much whatever you want. I could probably prefer tungsten just so it doesn't have any problems when bigger rockets take off, but I don't even know if I've ever seen, or if I remember seeing, a rocket platform getting melted by it. It might have like a special property on it or something to prevent it from melting, but I don't know. I guess I don't even really see a... Oh, that's oxygen. Yeah, I don't really see... I don't think I've ever seen this before. Let me try building out of something else and see what it says. Maybe it does. I don't know. I've never actually seen one of these melt before, but maybe I've just gotten lucky or something and never seen it. So yeah, just gonna build our rocket platform, and because we are taking a whole bunch of duplicants and we need to go to this asteroid, we need to build this out of a steam rocket, which is probably the easiest one to get to, which was the whole point of getting all this stuff up. So in order to build this out, what would be the easiest thing to do probably is just to do every other one here on these ladders, because we want to remove all of them that are going to be in the way of where our rocket's going to get built. If you do every other one, that still allows your duplicants to move around, and then getting rid of the rest of them is pretty easy. So if you kind of just start from the middle here, your duplicants can jump in there and start deconstructing some of them. And then as it starts to get more split up, you can kind of deconstruct the whole thing. Should be pretty easy. So once we get all these done, it should be... Oh crap, that one's going to be not taken. Oh, that one's also not going to be taken. Looks like I'm getting too callous on this. Trying to hurry up. Guess we'll have to rebuild that and then unbuild it. Alright, so let's get our rocket going. So steam engine is going to be what we want here. And then from your gas pumps here, you're going to want to be sending the steam engine straight into it, so nothing fancy. Just going to put a igneous rock pipe here. This will eventually get taken down because we won't need it for later engine types. So just going to not worry too much about the material it's built out of right now. Man, this was a disaster. Guess I need to be a lot more careful about this. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. Alright, so once we've got our steam engine, I am also going to build this very similarly to how I built it in the video that's just directly about building rocket exteriors. So the next thing you want to make sure that you have is your Spacefarer module, and I like to put that towards the bottom, because when we land, it'd be really nice if I could have access to the Spacefarer module pretty easily, and if all I had to do was deconstruct the steam engine, that would be really handy. The other things we're going to want to do here is attach this trio of things that I like to put on these rockets when we're settling somewhere. It's going to be a rover's module, a trailblazer's module, and an orbital cargo module. When we're actually landing, we'll kind of explain these things a little bit more, but basically the rover's there to help you when you first get there. It's like a robot. This is to help a duplicant land, and this is to send resources down so that you can build anything that you might need to build pretty easily when you land. do this a different way to get this deconstructed. I'm also going to want to make sure that I space the rest of this rocket platform correctly. Haha, I didn't say it. What I'm going to want to do is add a thing here in between these, which is going to be a rocket port unloader, just to unload any stuff that we might bring back from any mining missions. But then we'll also know what kind of spacing we have to deal with to put some ladders in between here. So just going to do 2 really long obsidian ladders in between there, just so that I have the ability to work, because right now Nicola's stuck. And I don't really care that much, I guess. He could just kind of like deconstruct his way out of this, I think. Yeah, eventually he'll fall. We should be fine. Wait, actually I need to do this first. Let me cancel this one. There we go. Now get out of there. Alright, so the rest of the rocket that we're going to need in order to settle there is we will need a battery module, because we don't want to have to store power inside the rocket. That would produce a lot of unnecessary heat. The rest of these ladders we can get out of the way now that we actually have space, but some of them will also want to get close enough so that our duplicants can reach it. So any of these like inner modules, just kind of build one ladder next to it and they should be able to reach just fine. Same thing with these ones. They might not be able to actually get there if their ladders are too far away, so that's something you can do there. And then finally, on top of these, you're always going to want to put some kind of nose cone. And there you go. That should put us at about maximum height. You could probably fit one more thing here if you really care that much. Based on where we're going, I don't think it's really worthwhile to go anywhere else, so I'm not going to really add anything else. I guess we could add a 4th solar panel, but the more you add, the less effective they are. So, that's fine. Alright, let's start building out the interior of this too. Actually, sorry, let me do a couple of other things first. There's some things that I want my duplicants to work on in the meantime, so let's get that set up. Like I was alluding to, when you go to settle on a different asteroid, you're going to usually need to take a lot of supplies with you. And the easiest way that I've found to get those supplies together is just to set up a whole bunch of bins somewhere. And I'm going to use this area right here. And just have those bins request certain resources. Then I will know once all those bins fill up that we're actually okay to get going. And I want to do this first only because it's going to take a while for all that material to get loaded in there and then move somewhere that I can easily load it into my rocket. So we probably should have started with that, but I don't know. Building the rocket's a lot more exciting, I guess. So we didn't do that. Just need to move this power transformer here, so I'm just going to move it up to the top. And then we'll just reconnect it when it's done. There we go. The rest of this, maybe I could just disconnect this for the time being and my duplicants will take care of it. There we go. Alright, a couple things we're going to need here too. Since there is a heavy watt wire running through this room, I'm going to need to deconstruct a couple places and kind of rebuild so that it's going to sit in there nicely. So we're going to need some walls. I will eventually want to not let my duplicants touch the stuff that's in here, because once we have the supplies that we want for our rocket, I don't want them to continually load the bins over and over. It'll make sense when we start building this out, but... So yeah, I just need to prepare a couple of places for this. We deconstruct that really quick. And we're just going to create a room here. I'm going to create it with some mechanized airlocks, now that this is out of the way. These mechanized airlocks are going to be so that we can prevent our duplicants from coming in this room when we don't want them to be in there anymore. So that's going to imply a signal switch. So I'm just going to put a signal switch there, which is just to control the doors. Then inside this room, just going to do a whole line of storage bins, just something like that. Also, in order to get the material shipped over to where we want it to go, I'm just going to put a couple of auto sweepers in here. I'm going to put 4. Just because there's going to be 4 bins, and I want to make sure they're loaded pretty equally as I start to send the material up to where it needs to go. This is going to seem like a lot of work, but I found this to be a lot easier than doing it individually for every single rocket that you want to have going. This is easier just because you can set it that way once, and you don't need to remember it every single time, like you would otherwise if you were going to load it straight into the rocket. So this might be a little unpopular, a little cumbersome, but I've iterated on this a handful of times, and I've found this to be the best way to do it, or at least the most convenient way to do it over time. So that's, I don't know. I guess I just feel necessary to overly explain this, but yeah. So when you have all your 4 bins in here, I'm just going to create like a freeway of conveyor rails. And all those conveyor rails are going to lead to somewhere up here where I basically just drop it off. And it's going to be nearby my rocket loading area so that my duplicants can have a designated area where only those supplies are going to go. I'm also going to create another liquid lock here because as this starts to have rocket blasts off and stuff, this area is going to get really hot, and I don't want to subject that, or I don't want to, like, make all the material that I ship here subjected to that same level of heat. Actually, we could probably tighten this a little bit. Let's do this. We could probably just put it in here like that, and if this is just going to be water, I could just have all the material fall into here. So, that seems fine. That'll at least insulate it a decent amount. And it will prevent duplicants from having to walk a little bit further, so... Yay! Little mini optimizations. Okay. Well, we need a way to send water here, so here's a vent. We need to grab some water. Where do we have a line for this right now? Oh, I've been using the hot water to continue to fill this up, by the way, because we already have cooling going on. I don't really care if it's that hot going in. I will actually disconnect this from here, and we'll send one of these lines up to start filling that up. Where does this go? Oh, this is a petroleum line. I'll just borrow this line for a second. We'll get rid of it in a second. Guess we don't really... Well, yeah, I should probably not be so callous about the temperature. There we go. By the way, where we left off before is getting some cooling done for these steam turbines, so I did start to get the loop in for cooling on that, so you can kind of see it consistently going around. And it will start to cool down once all this stuff can cool down from these aqua tuners, but yeah, we'll get there. Okay. Let me start to... Actually, let's just keep going on getting some of these conveyor chutes up. So this is basically just like a 4-lane highway of everything that you are going to need to ship up there. The thing that I don't really want to do, and this is kind of a bummer that this is in this way because I don't want to route this through the steam. This is not wide enough. I'm going to need to kind of close this off, which is not my favorite, but... Might make a little bit of a mess. Let me cancel this. And just kind of rebuild some tiles there. There we go. Now, we should be able to have all 4 lanes going up here without any of them going into the steam. Cancel that. There. Just going straight into these 4 conveyor chutes. Okay, now... I'm going to give my duplicants just a little bit of time to get these bins all built out. Then we'll start declaring the stuff that needs to go in these bins that are going to be kind of essential for any colonization mission that you might want to run. So let me give them just a little bit to do that. Okay, they're going pretty fast. Alright, never mind. No need for an editing break. Alright, we're back. Whoa, that was so quick. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to display, just on screen here, all the stuff that I usually take on one of these colonization missions. It doesn't need to be exactly this every single time. You can kind of change it depending on what your feel is for it, but this is the stuff that I like to take. Only because on some of these asteroids you can be really deprived of some of these resources, and having to run shipments back and forth constantly is really a pain. So I'd rather just take it all at once if I can. So, again, not the most common way to do this, I imagine, but this is just easier for me to remember all of the things that I need to take at any given time. So, let's start filling up our bins according to that. Well, actually, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me fill up all the numbers, so I'll just put it back on screen. These are going to be the things that I take, and I will just use all of my bins to contain all of these resources the best that I can. So I'll just do that off screen really quickly so we can save a little bit of time, and I'll be back in just a sec. Alright, got our bin set. Figure I should probably explain why we're taking all these resources instead of just saying, yeah, take it. So first of all, lead is going to be what you really need to insulate yourself from radiation when you're building on a new place. So that's going to be a really good insulator from radiation, so you'll want to take that. Steel is going to be something that you really need for a lot of your particular setups there. So like if you're making aqua tuners or something like that, you really don't have a choice, so you might as well take that. Plastic is also going to be for steam turbines, or it could be for a couple of other purposes when you go there. 3,000 might be a lot, actually. I'm trying to double check this and think if I ever really need that much. Maybe not, but I don't know. Should have plenty. Alright, next is going to be refined metal. I have I have one setup for it, and we're also going to take some more in the actual rocket itself up here. Refined metal is just going to be because you're going to need it. Some places don't have it. Pretty straightforward there. Same thing with the metal ore. Sometimes there's basically none on the asteroid you're going to, so taking some with you is going to be really essential. So we wait for the game to load here. Igneous rock, also, you're not necessarily going to have that as a good insulator, so some of the asteroids you land on can be extremely hot or extremely cold, and that's something you're definitely going to want. Let's see, reed fibers, so you can repair your suits when you get there. This is going to be our seeds. You can take either blossoms or mealwood seeds. Depends on what asteroid you're going to. I know that we will have renewable water on the one we're going to, so I'm just going to take blossoms because those are a little better food quality than the mealwood. Next is going to be our dirt. That's just in case we need it for mealwood. If you're not taking mealwood, you don't necessarily need to take that, so we might as well just uncheck that one, but we can at least remember what it is or leave it set. You could also just set it to 1 so that they never come and fill that up. I don't know, up to you. The rust and salt are also the next few because we need to produce oxygen when we get there. And I'm taking 2 forms. I'm taking the rust and salt as well as the algae. So that's going to be one in a later bin. So we can see them starting to fill this up. Going to take a few Atmo suits. We're obviously going to take enough for our duplicants to have already like worn when they go. So that's fine. But I do want a few extra. The manufactured material, I want to take glass. That's so we can produce solar power when we get there. That's going to be the easiest way to get our power up. Sand is just going to be because it's not always available, and having a filtration medium is going to be really helpful when you get there for deodorizers, or if you need to clean some water or something like that. Might as well take it if you have a whole bunch of it. Algae, I already explained, we just need some oxygen production when we get there, and especially on our way. Granite is just so that we have an extra building material. Some of these asteroids don't have great or very useful building material, so this can be really helpful. And then the last one that fits very nicely in here is coal, just so we can generate a little bit of extra power in case the solar power can't push us on the asteroid that we're going to, which is actually fairly common. So what my duplicants are going to be doing here is just filling these bins up and also finishing up the conveyor chutes. Let me open this up really quickly so that they can actually fill all this up. And we'll fill this up with water. I need to add the automation here, by the way. So let's add our hydro sensor and hook that up. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a period of waiting where we need to wait for our duplicants to fill all these bins up. But in the meantime, we still can build out the interior. So I guess we might as well go ahead and do that while we're waiting. But the problem is that is going to take time away from our duplicants. So maybe that's not a great idea now that I'm talking this out loud. Let me have them fill all this stuff up. Then I'll show you how to basically ship it up here to a point that they will have access to it that's close to the rocket. But we're also going to deny them access for the time being so that they don't get in this loop of like refilling the bins and going and grabbing it from here and refilling the bins. You really want it to be in one place at one time. So yeah, we'll get there. Let's just get these bins filled up first. Okay, let's take a look at our progress. We have almost everything loaded. We don't have enough glass. We don't have enough steel. But that's okay, at least for this first time going out. We can always send more a little bit later. And I don't want to keep us waiting for too long because we're going to be holding on producing steel until we can get enough fossil or eggshells and stuff like that to be able to make it. So not going to worry too much about it right now. So while they're still filling this up, let's hook up a couple of other things. One, we need some automation that's going to be able to tell when it's time to actually send all this stuff up. So I'm just going to hook a line through all of my auto sweepers, and my auto sweepers are going to be set on a slightly complicated automation setup here. Just going to be an AND gate that touches, the output will touch this wire, so something like that. Going to put a timer sensor on one end of the AND gate, and on the other end, just a regular switch. This is just to conserve power, so we're not running it constantly when we don't really need to. So, I guess it's a kind of simple setup, whatever. So just something like that. So if they're allowed to turn on, they will start shipping everything in this room up in these conveyor loaders and into this area. So because I want it to all be shipped into this area, I'm gonna put a signal switch on this door and keep my duplicants from entering this until it's time to actually move it into the rocket itself. So we'll do that here in just a second. So, timer sensor, typical stuff like we've done with all the other shipping things. Uptime of 15, downtime of about 40, so that these can only really need to work about a third of a time to fully load these. And then the conveyor loaders themselves, let's make sure we turn these off, so we don't want to turn them on right away until our duplicants are done loading everything. I think the last I'm going to wait for is the rust, and that's kind of trickling in from the other asteroid right now. I just barely realized that I wasn't shipping it, so it's coming in. But everything that I want shipped out of here, I'm just going to hit all, and a higher priority than is being requested in the bin, so sure, 8. I also need to power these, which I forgot. So there we go. The other thing, once again, make sure you're sending duplicants back on a regular basis to your main asteroid, because we're going to take 8 duplicants on this mission. So we might as well start pointing out who we're going to be taking. And again, because they're pretty generalized, it doesn't really matter who you take. We can always respec anybody that we need to, so I'm not going to think too hard about this. So sure, Nisbet, you're going with them. Just going to call you Metal Nisbet, since that's the asteroid you're going to be going to. Nails, sure, why not? We'll take you too. And I'll continue to do this for a bunch of duplicants. We don't need to name every single one of them. But the ones that I do name, I will want to assign to some skill scrubbers. So I'm going to add a couple more, just so that we can get a few people scrubbed at a time, and we're not doing this one at a time. But all the duplicants that I want to take, I want to scrub them before I go, so I can reassign them appropriately when it's time. So there you go, Nails. You're getting scrubbed. Alright, let's start to flesh out the rest of this rocket, so that when it's time to start loading it up, we already have everything pretty much ready to go, and we just be waiting for supplies, and then we'll be out of here. So, first of all, orbital cargo module. I want to take a particular kind of refined metal, and ideally all the same. Because I have the most iron right now, I'm just going to take that, and I'll fill it up to the max. Anything that I don't use on that asteroid, I can always bring back, so it's not like it's a one-way trip for these supplies. So I'm just going to ask for iron in this orbital cargo module, and we'll kind of explain that when the time comes. Alright, now let's get our interior built. So we need to take 8 duplicants, so we need a pretty efficient way to take all 8 of them. So I'm going to start laying this out just a little bit at a time. First of all, like I typically do, you can reposition this rocket control station. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to start with our toilet on the right, which is always very common. Also, I'm going to put a liquid reservoir in here because I want to take some water with me. The water is going to be useful to set up a liquid lock when we get there, so definitely want that. Next to that's going to be our rocket control station. And then we need a place to hold all of our food, so here's a refrigerator. We need a way to produce oxygen while we're going, so 8 duplicants will use up more oxygen than just this, so I will actually need 2 of them. And I'll build the second one after we get all of our supplies in here. Ventilation, a mini gas pump. We definitely need to get rid of all the gases that we're not planning on keeping, so like all of our carbon dioxide, so it doesn't just get flooded. We also need a gas element sensor to make sure that we are detecting for that correctly, so there we go. This is going to be really similar to the last rocket we just built. Connect it up like this with a filter gate. There you go. And we will also probably want a building over here. That's where I'll put the second oxygen diffuser. But for now, I'm just going to put an automatic dispenser because that's what I want my duplicants to run all the supplies in through. Alright, so there's the bottom level. The next level is going to be something that we try to make as big as possible so that we can keep our duplicants' morale at a reasonable spot so that they're at least kind of happy while they're working out on this mission. So I'm just going to create a floor that looks something like this. Note that I have a ladder here that's going to be used to get up to that floor. Set our settings on this, by the way, while I'm looking at it. Make sure we got our gas pipe going out into space. There we go. Alright, so this top level is really just going to be like a Great Hall area, because that's the most morale I can get for all of my duplicants at once. So I do need a place for all 8 of them to have a mess table, and I do need a place for some kind of recreational building, which is what I'm going to put right here. Once I get all that up, I'm going to need a couple of temporary ladders just to help me reach up here. Actually, I should be able to reach everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. Never mind, we don't need those. The very top, we need to start sending our water in, but I need to leave a little bit of space here because this is where we're going to send the water out to fill up our liquid lock when the time comes. So I need to make sure to reserve a little bit of space, but the water, once again, you can just kind of go back and forth like that. When we start to have it coming out, sure, just kind of snake it back and forth. Doesn't really matter that much. And then when it's time to fill up the... oh, I guess I can't reach right there. Okay. That's why I needed one. There we go. So once it's time to fill up our liquid lock, you can just kind of have it coming out of the input port, which is a weird way to think about it because that's what we're sending out. I don't know. These are named weird to me. But I'm going to leave these disconnected for the time being because I don't want to just be venting the whole time. Otherwise, I'm going to get rid of all my water, and that's kind of a problem. So let's get our furniture going for, not our cots, we want mess tables. There we go. Just kind of fill all those up for all 8 of our duplicants. And then also our water cooler, which is going to be our industrial building. You can keep this door open. It'll still get the room bonus if you do so. Then the last thing we're really going to need is power for all this. Because I will want to power the second oxygen diffuser that I'm going to put down here, I guess we could power the automatic dispenser. I always forget what the name of that thing is. For the time being, and then we can, I guess, just not worry about the extra power being spent. Again, we don't need to power our fridge because we're just going to be taking berry sludge. Berry sludge is by far the most useful thing for this because it never goes bad. So, always a good thing to do. Once all this stuff gets built, I will build a layer of lead tiles up here to help with the radiation while my duplicants are flying to the other asteroid. It's not going to be that long of a trip, but you definitely don't want to expose them to radiation too much if you don't have to, so we'll get that up, but I need to wait for the rest of this stuff to get built. Let's see how our loading is going here. Okay, I think we have enough stuff for right now. I'm not going to worry too much more about it, so we have plenty. So what I'm going to do is as soon as duplicants are out of the way, I'm just going to close these doors, and now this room is sealed, as well as this room being sealed, and I'm going to start shipping everything up to the point that's close by, so that my duplicants can load it all into the rocket, but also we know exactly what we're going to be loading in there. We know it's going to be this payload, and it's not going to go anywhere else, because we're going to keep tight control over it. This is just a really convenient way to know what you're taking and how much you're taking. You don't have to do this by any means. You can do it separately every single time if you want to. I just find this to be a lot more useful in the long run. So this will take a little while to empty out, and the interior, let's see how we're doing in there again. I could probably start putting my tiles down. I'm going to disable this, by the way. Alright, some lead tiles up here. Make sure they can still reach, especially this spot. It looks like they can't. I'm just going to need another ladder. There we go. We also need a decor item. Otherwise, this is just going to be a mess hall. So, let's get that. Furniture. We want a hanging pot. Here we go. And you can just throw in a... why do I forget the name of this right now? It's like a cactus. Whatever the cactus one is, I forget the name of it. But if you throw that one in, it has a really wide temperature range that it can tolerate, so that's a really good one to have just to kind of serve as your decor item there. If we don't have enough berry sludge, we may also need to ship it from the other asteroid too, because the other asteroid is producing it. Joya seed, that's what they're called. So we may need to ship in some more of this just to make sure we have enough food, but we can also do like a follow-up shipment just to make sure that we have enough. Looks like we have a decent amount of berry sludge here, so I'm going to... What is the easiest way to do this? Guess I could just have them manually load it, so let's do this. Whoever's here, when I tell you to manually load that, you just do it. Or I guess we could just have a auto sweeper do it if that's the case, so... Oh, we don't have anybody that can build this here. Alright, whatever. I'll get more of this berry sludge shipped over there, so we at least have more than we would... I mean, we want to fill up this whole fridge. We're going to be trying to keep 8 duplicants alive without a real food source for a while, so we probably want to send that. Oh, I just got rid of this, so my duplicants can't reach that. But that's about it. We're going to start needing to fill up the rocket with water, so I'll just start sending some water up here as well, which we still have this line up here, and I just realized I'm going to need to continuously have running up here, so I'm going to need to run a petroleum line separately. So let's see. Going to run our igneous rock up into here like that, and just get that filled up. So yeah, we just need to wait for all this stuff to get shipped over to this area. We need to wait for our water to fill up. We need to wait for our food to get here. A couple of things we need to do before we're ready to go, but I want to get to a point where we blast off this rocket in this video, and the next video will be all about us colonizing the next asteroid. So give me a second to get caught up with my duplicants and all the stuff they need to do. One thing that I forgot to mention is we were going to try out using temp shift plates on this setup this time. So I'm just going to line all of these metal tiles that I have right here with obsidian, so that hopefully we capture more of the heat that's out here before it like gases off into outer space, and we can get more power out of it. So I was sending myself a lot of obsidian from the other asteroid, so that definitely helps out. But we'll kind of run an experiment here and see how much better this is going to help the temperature exchange down into this steam versus running metal tiles all down the side like I've done before. So, I don't know. Live experiment. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, my duplicants will be busy doing this for just a little while. And we're still waiting for all the shipments to be done. So, as soon as that's ready, we'll load it up. Alright, let's run our launch checklist and make sure that we are ready to go. First of all, we have our refrigerator here, has enough food. We need to start loading stuff into our rocket, so let's make sure there's nothing else that's marked for sweep that could be things that my duplicants would take to a certain place. Everything's been shipped from our area, and I'm still going to leave it closed until these people leave. Then I'll reopen it and have it be restocked for the next trip that we take. So I'm going to open this up, and then everything inside of here I'm going to mark for sweep, and I'm going to make sure that this dispenser can actually take it. So yeah, everything marked for sweep is what we want here. I'll prioritize it a little bit higher so that we have just massive amounts of dupes running stuff from here to there. So they're just going to start loading that up, and that will get us all the stuff that we need in order to go. Let's track our resources to make sure that we have enough. Algae. Berry sludge. I also kind of like to track rust and salt if I'm taking it, only because we might need to live out of this for quite a long time on some of the planets that we land on. And here we go, all the duplicants are just running all the stuff in here right now. We do have water, by the way, so we're good on that. So I think the interior of the rocket is pretty much ready. We also need to check to make sure that we have enough duplicants that are cleaned of their skills so that they will not be stressed out once we are flying. So everybody that is named Metal are the people that I'm taking, and they are all totally clean of skills right now. I will reassign them when we get there, just based upon what we need them to do. But it'll likely just be digging and building, because that's going to be most of what needs to happen. But I don't want to stress them out while we're doing that. They're also going to be subjected to some radiation and stuff like that too. So their stress levels are definitely something that could cause us to move a lot slower if we're not careful. So we've got our temp shift plates up, all made out of obsidian, so that should not melt. We'll kind of see how this does. I don't know how this is going to do. I've never tried it this way before. I will usually just make tiles that kind of loop around like this to share the temperature, but, you know, just trying something different this time. I'm also going to try to run tiles up the side and try to capture more of the heat that way too. But yeah, so duplicants are just going to be loading this in here for a little while. Let's set our destination, which we're going to be going to this asteroid. Oh, we need to still fill our rocket with steam. We don't actually have any yet, so this should all be hooked up. We just need to turn our pumps on, so should just be able to do that. There we go. And again, 2 of them will be able to fill up one of these pipes, so it is running at full capacity right now, and this should fill up pretty quickly. So let's see, we've got our refined metal that we're going to be taking, the iron for when we land. Oh, the other thing we don't have is, if you're in a big chamber like this, a lot of times your solar panels won't actually be getting power. So one thing we should probably do is hook it up to one of our power sources so that we can charge the battery before they leave. It's not really that big of a deal. Oh crap, I should probably make this out of tungsten. There we go. Make that out of tungsten. We can get that built here really quickly. That'll at least charge our battery, and I'm just connecting it to one of my typical transformers. This might overdraw for just a second, but I think we're okay because the aqua tuner's off. So that'll charge up the battery. We'll have power before we go. We are getting a little teeny tiny bit of power, but it's probably just enough to run our oxygen machine in there, whatever it might be called. Algae distiller. No, oxygen diffuser. Distiller is to turn your slime into algae. By the way, I forgot to mention that. I am running a couple of algae distillers just to convert my slime into algae, because we're going to need more and more as more of these trips go on. So I want to make sure we at least have enough, and I'm not doing anything with the slime anyway, so we might as well have that running. How much more stuff do we have here? Jeez, this is so much. Alright, well, let's just start assigning the crew. So we're going to need at least someone that can fly the ship. So we at least need to assign someone that's going to be our pilot. So sure, Ada, there you go. All right, everybody that has metal in their names is going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and I think the rooms are good. Let's double check that really quickly. Yeah, we got a great hall up here. We have a toilet that they can use, so they should be pretty happy while they're flying. Should probably also rename the rocket so that we know which is which. So this is going to be our metal rocket. Sure. Kind of a, I guess, ironic name, but yeah, I think we know what it's for. Just to colonize that metal asteroid. All right, I'm trying to buy time in case you couldn't tell from my duplicants to hurry up and finish this, but they're not. So one more editing break once they're ready. I'll get them all in the rocket and we'll send these guys on their way. Okay, finally, we have all of our stuff loaded in, just in a big pile here for the next place that we go to. For what it's worth, the first place that we're going is actually pretty self-sustaining. We don't need a ton of this, and we will probably bring a lot of it back, but just kind of want to get into the habit of bringing in the same stuff on every mission. And if we're a little bit low, we can always fly there, but once you get out to some of the further ones, it's like pretty hard to send stuff all the way out here in terms of shipments in a significant amount, so I don't know. I'd rather just have the big pile of stuff. Alright, let's get out of here. So first, we need to wait for the game to load, because that's perfect timing. Let's change our destination, and just right next to the asteroid is fine. And then all we have to do is hit begin launch, and we're just going to see all of our duplicates come in here that are going to be going on the mission, because they're assigned as crew members. There we go. Everybody that comes in here, I want to take their suits off so that they are not using it. What the... Why are you carrying berry sludge? So that they're not using it while they're just walking around. We're also going to need one of them to be in a suit that is fueled with oxygen while we land them on the surface. So I'm just trying to find everybody to get them all out of their suits. It looks like we just left. Who's still in their suit? There we go. There. Alright, everybody's in their suit, and we are on our way. They're now here sleeping on the floor. We're going to need to do one more thing, which is replace this with another oxygen diffuser, because we won't be able to support this many duplicates with only one. So there's a second one, and yeah, we're on our way. So it'll take us about 1.2 cycles before we get there. Once we do get there, I'll check back in with the next video, and we'll actually land on this thing and start a new colony there. So really long video this time, but that's okay. Spaced Out is a lot more complicated than the base game. It's going to take us a little while to do stuff, so I'll be back with that video here really soon, so thanks for watching.